Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. Today I have another, after like 2 videos already, of a Things Like Goosebumps video. This one is for the second Frightvision book, which I read the first one, I reviewed it here on the channel, I really enjoyed that as well. Solid book, really fun book, really enjoyable book. Culliver Krantz really knows what he's doing with his series so far that he created with this whole Frightvision series. This one is book number 2 called Picture Day. It's written by Julia Dove and Culliver Krantz. I don't know who does what. I don't know if Julia kind of just writes the story that Culliver Krantz kind of wrote the outline to. I'm not really sure how that works. This cover, I like it. Took me forever to realize this is not a building behind him. This is a straight up camera, and this is supposed to be his reflection in the camera. Very oddball story. As I explain this to you, you're going to think I've seen the story a billion times over, and maybe you kind of have, but I will say this is a very refreshing take on what it is. To kind of start off the idea of the story, the premise of it, as I get into it. I won't tell you too much, spoiler-free review, as always. I highly recommend the book. I really enjoyed it. I think I like this better than the first book, The Cursed Coin. And The Cursed Coin was pretty good as it was, too. A lot shorter. This book's about 92 pages long, not including the excerpt at the end of the book for the next book called Wishful Thinking. But the first book was about 120 pages. I think the Cursed Coin books are kind of the main series books right now, so they kind of do more of those than these. So Culliver Krantz, of course, is very influenced by R.L. Stine, and particularly Goosebumps, and I really like how he maintains the feeling of Goosebumps in these books. The general premise of this particular one is a lot less adventurous and fantasy-like than the first book was, The Cursed Coin. This one is more of its own standalone story, kind of like how Goosebumps and the old classic series typically have standalone books, and still to this day kind of have that outside of the Horrorland series. What this book is about is basically a kid named Elias Green is going to have picture day, and of course, like a week before that, he had to get like a retainer put into his mouth, and the retainers, of course, are removable. He got some new clothes. He tried to dress up really nice to impress this girl named Ruby that he has a crush on at school. He wants to ask her to the dance that's about to come up at school. I'm really like messed up today. My allergies are so bad, dude. I can't even like swallow correctly. I don't know. My nose is super just crusted up, I guess you want to say. That's a really gross way of putting it, but it is. Anyway, if I sound a little off or a little bit more quiet than usual, I'll try to keep my voice down when I record in here because my wife is like right next door doing her own thing in her work time, so I'm trying not to be too loud, but also I'm trying to, being sick, I'm trying to get my voice up higher. Anyway, Picture Day. So Elias, or Eli, as he likes to be called as well, he has another best friend too that he kind of talks to about like comics and stuff. That best friend has a big obsession with comics. I like that friend. I forgot his name. I think it's like Tim or something. Ruby is a good friend of his too. Of course, the one he has a crush on. Now, with this retainer being in his mouth, Picture Day comes around, and when he goes to take his first picture, well, the only picture you really get on Picture Day, for some reason, this thing electrocutes him. He forgets to take the retainer out of his mouth, and when the picture flash goes off, it shocks him, and it knocks him out of his chair, as a matter of fact. And he kind of goes through his day, and he starts having all these issues with, like, he can't read for whatever reason. As he reads certain things on the blackboard, or he starts to read something on his piece of paper on his desk or something, he can't really make out what it's saying. He's starting to lose the ability to read. Over time, colors start to fade as well, and it starts to get a little bit worse and worse. He can't really see people's faces that well. Kind of a really eerie situation. One thing I really love about Culliver Krantz's work so far in the Frightvision series is that he's really able to ride that good line, kind of like Twisted Books to Leave You Shook that my friend C.S. James wrote. He's really able to ride that fine line that many authors struggle with when it comes to middle grade books about being a humorous, creepy story, or a humorous, eerie story, or a humorous, bizarre story, anything like that. This is more along the bizarre side. This is not really a scary book, but it has a couple of moments that are kind of interesting, too, to be a little bit creepier, if you like that kind of thing. If you love Goosebumps, you'll love this series so far. It feels just like a Goosebumps kind of thing, even though it's technically just a Goosebumps knockoff, but it still feels really fun. It's adventurous for what it is. Culliver Krantz is doing something a little bit different, and I like all that. I think it's pretty neat what he's doing with this. I'm trying to think what else I was going to mention to you, too, about the premise. Oh, the guy who takes the picture, the actual photographer at the school, is like a French guy, is an older man, too. And he seems a little odd, but there's also a nurse in the school, too, that's a little bit odd as well, that every time Eli has to encounter her, where he hit his head when he fell out of his chair and stuff, keeps getting beat up throughout the day and everything. It's a little odd how he thinks he feels like these people are so familiar, both the photographer and that nurse. One of the big interesting things about this that I was not excited for when I read the back of the book is that eventually this turns into a Groundhog Day story, which, if you don't know what that is, basically it's the type of story like Edge of Tomorrow, if you've seen that Tom Cruise flick, where somebody's reliving the same day over and over again. This can be repetitive like that, but like I said, there's a refreshing take done here, which I never thought in my life I would see a refreshing take done of Groundhog Day stories. And I'll tell you, dude, Oliver Krantz did something different here, or Julia Dove, whoever put this together. It feels better than what I thought it was going to be. Again, I wasn't looking forward to this because of that very whole Groundhog Day storyline, but they do something different with it. Instead of encountering the same day from beginning to end over and over again, or from the time he gets the picture taken over and over and over again, it's different sporadic moments throughout his day, and then sometimes different moments, or he's kind of like stuck in situations that have already happened, that even if he changes what he says, it doesn't change the situation. Very interesting storyline, and a refreshing way of taking the story and doing something different with the Groundhog Day idea. I'm very surprised by how refreshing this was in that respect. You don't really see that out of Hollywood or anything like that. Books, nothing. Every time I hear there's going to be a Groundhog Day type of book, I get immediately turned off. I really do. And I really don't want to read it most of the time. And I want to read this series in order, just because I want to do it out of respect for Culliver. But this was surprisingly good. Really surprisingly good. I really enjoyed this. I had a good time reading it. It was fun to read. It was a quick read, it being 92 pages. It seems like the font's a little bit bigger than what Cursed Coin looked like, too. Maybe I'm wrong about that, just memorizing it, or remembering it wrong. But it feels different to me. A lot different. It feels like a little bit of a smoother read, because Julia Dove possibly did most of the writing on this. I'm not really sure. Again, I'm assuming Oliver Krantz put an outline out there and she wrote the actual book. I'm not really sure. But I really enjoyed this. I only have a few little jokey nitpicks. The one is the boomerism that I found on page 2, and I would like to share that with you. Not that any of these people are boomers, but anybody who's above the age of 15 is considered a boomer nowadays, so, it is what it is. Listen to this line, you tell me this doesn't sound like a try to impress the kids type of phrase or wording. Of course, the main character, Eli, is talking about his friend Ruby that he has a crush on, and they like video games, and he says, "I played her in several online gaming worlds and was always glad to have her bravery on my team whenever I could." I'm sorry, dude. That was bad writing, and that was not... That will make a kid roll their eyes out of their head if they read this book. Any kid or teenager that reads this is going to see that and be like, oh... But even so, that's the only thing I have to really nitpick about the writing of the book. The actual book's writing itself, I like Eli, I like Ruby, I like the best friend character that I can't remember his name, even though I like him. I like the villain in the book. I really enjoyed that. The nurse character, liked her a whole lot too. It was a fun read. It had a lot of advantage to it that made it a fun read. I do think the ending is a little underwhelming for a typical Groundhog Day type of story, even though most of this is refreshing. I do think the ending is a little weak, as are most Groundhog Day stories. It's kind of a, let's find a resolution, and then the story just kind of ends for most of these kind of Groundhog Day type of stories. It rubs me the wrong way when I read these stories. Again, Edge of Tomorrow, I'm not a fan of at all because the ending made no sense in it. It was just stupid. Never seen the actual Groundhog Day movie with Bill Murray, and that's kind of probably something I'll never get around to, even though I like Bill Murray. I'll probably just never get around to watching Groundhog Day. I'm so busy all the time that when something comes out I do want to watch, I watch that. And Groundhog Day is kind of like something I would have watched back in the old days when I tried to find something new to watch, and so on and so on. Overall, when it comes to Picture Day, this is really solid. I wish the cover was a little bit different, and maybe the camera, when I say camera, I mean like the picture design was moved back a little bit away from this so I could tell that's an actual camera taking a picture of Eli right there. Even so, I really enjoyed this. I had a really good time reading this. It was fun, it was quick, it had a little bit of an adventure. The whole book pretty much takes place in the school that day of Picture Day. And it was fun. It was a good read. I enjoyed this. It was silly and goofy. It had a lot of humor to it. It wasn't a scary read, even though it had its moments. The interest of, like, Eli losing his ability to read and so on, more interesting, too. His main friend keeps trying to tell him, since he's a big comic book aficionado, that maybe Eli's going to get superpowers. And that's kind of a thing in here, too, a little bit. It was kind of neat. Kind of, again, refreshing for this kind of story. What did you think about Picture Day? You've read Frightvision Book 2. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's a good, solid read. I think that overall Cursed Coin felt a little bit different, and I liked that as a story. Overall as a premise and an idea. But I think the execution of this kind of typical same old Groundhog Day story was done better than most Groundhog Day stories, which made it a lot more interesting to read, or at least interesting to see where it was going to go. So that was kind of cool. Even so, I don't really have much more to say about this. I had a good time. That's really all that matters to me. When it comes to Picture Day, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I would probably give this about probably a 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't perfect, but it was a really solid read, man. I had a good time with this. That's really all that matters to me, like I said. And yeah, Culliver Krantz, really good job so far with this one, man. Julia Dove, good job with this too, if you're the one who wrote it or whatever happened here. I am really digging this. I really hope more people will start picking up Frightvision and kind of respecting it more. It deserves it. You know, same thing goes for my friend C.S. James, Twisted Books to Leave You Shook. I read and reviewed the first one here as a Things Like Goosebumps video a couple of days ago, or a couple of weeks ago. That was great. Really, I like these modern-day Goosebumps kind of knockoffs from fans that grew up on the Goosebumps series like how I did. You know, we're all trying to put out stuff like this, and it's really blowing up out there. People are really enjoying this kind of stuff, and people like myself are buying them, even though they're kind of... typically they're self-published, and this feels self-published in my opinion, the way the book feels. Just because the cover is so thick, you know, it's not like a cardboard feel, but it's pretty thick in general, and that's usually how you tell something is a self-published book. And I don't mind that. I like that. I have self-published books myself, and I used to write poetry a whole lot and publish those. So I can usually spot it pretty well when I get my hands on one. But the colors and everything of these books look really good. I love the first book, Cursed Coin, how green that cover was. It was so pretty. Anyway, what do you guys think about Frightvision? If you've read any of these so far, do you have any recommendations from the series so far? I'm not really sure how many of these are out right now, but I'm having a blast with them. I hope that Culliver keeps putting out more and more of them. They seem to be doing pretty well from what I can tell from his YouTube channel and so on and so on. People are putting out short videos. He's doing contests for people to make short fan films, you know, kids making short fan films based on his books. That's pretty neat. I think it's pretty cool. I hope people start picking this stuff up more and talking about it more here on YouTube. It deserves it. It's a good series. From the 2 that I've read out of like the 8 or so that exist. I need to catch up and buy the last couple of books that have come out. I think Cursed Coin 3 is about to come out too. I haven't even read 2 yet. I own 2, I just haven't read it yet. But even so, what are your thoughts? Put them down below, guys. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Again, 4 out of 5 stars from me. Really solid read. Really fun, recommendable read. I really think you'll have a good time checking this out. I wanted to take a little bit of break from Goosebumps for like a week or so, and I picked up this, and I'm really glad I did. I had a good time with it. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Thank you for watching. God bless you again, and goodbye.